This is a podcast or something like that. All right. It's podcast time. Let's go. Enough farting around. Enough shitting around. Enough throwing up around. All right, we got to try this one again. Let's take it from the top. Hi, how's it going? I'm not going to mention any bodily fluids or disgusting materials in the introduction. Hi, welcome to episode 39. And I cheated a little bit because like an hour ago I was doing some house maintenance on the YouTube channel and I saw the episode numbers, so I sort of gave myself a little bit of a reminder, so to speak. But episode 39 of the verbaljournalpodcast.com. Welcome. I hope you're having a fantastic day, night, evening, morning, afternoon, middle day, sideways, afternoon. Today is Sunday, October 22nd, 2023, AD, and I'm going to have a sip of coffee. All right, so today we're going to have probably a shorter episode. Don't look at the time. Don't look at the amount of time in the episode. Just because I reference it, don't look at it, okay? It's a secret. But it's going to be probably a shorter episode today. Don't have a ton on the agenda. I got some fun things to talk about. But very excitingly, I am going to be getting ready for a live interview on the YouTube channel later with a comedian, Gavin Matz. He's a dope comedian. I've actually been a fan of him for several years. So it's very cool to be interviewing him. He has a new special coming out, so I'm going to be talking to him, helping him promote his new special, and just, I think my audience is going to love it. I mean, it's going to be a really dope conversation. So, yeah, very cool stuff. I'm going to be getting ready for that. It's been a nice weekend. I actually showed some paintings yesterday at an event for the first time in quite a while. Really, I've only shown paintings one other time, and I was like, it was almost 10 years ago. It was like, it was like 8 years ago or something, or 7 years ago. So, I was not nearly as good. I actually did show one painting yesterday that I had from back then, I think. Maybe more than one, but I showed a bunch of new ones, and some of them were finished, some of them were close to finished, and I just pretended they were finished. But it was really an awesome time. I actually sold the painting. I got this smaller painting. This very nice person, sort of young couple, just came by and were kind of interested, and I was like, oh yeah. They were like, oh, how much? And I was like, oh, it depends. Like, which one do you want? And they said that one. I was like, oh, okay, Like, I was like, oh, like $100. And they're like, would 80 be okay? I was like, sure. It's so arbitrary with prices. I read these biographies of these artists. You might have noticed. I might have mentioned it on a previous episode. And they sell a painting this happens over and over. It's a biography, so there's like selection bias to the max because you're only writing biographies about well-known people who then the prices became exponentially higher. But like, people, they sell their first painting for, $20. They sell their paintings for $20, $50. And then sometimes 10 years later, in Jackson Pollock's, rapid rise, it was, like a matter of 1 year or months later that the prices would go up. But, in my understanding. But yeah, in a lot of cases, it's 5 years, 10 years, 20 years later. If the artist is successful, you now have a 50 to 100 times return on your investment, at least. Like, you can sell something you got for $50. You could sell it for $100,000. Like, that's entirely possible. It's just a matter of what happens in the artist's career. Now, I'm not trying to say I think I'm going to become a famous artist. I don't think that's the case. I do think you can't rule out stuff like that, though. And it is just like a fact of life that, like, that's why art prices are what they... How am I supposed to come up with the price for a painting? Like, what, am I supposed to calculate like 20 let's say $30 an hour, and if I work on it for 10 hours, it's $300? That's a lot. Like, even if you just did labor value, like that painting that I sold, I'm sure I worked on it for 10 hours. Maybe not. Maybe I did it in less. It might have been a painting I did in one sitting, honestly. It was like a relatively simple one, and it was acrylics. So it might have been one sitting, but so you say it was 3 hours. And then I guess if you give yourself $25 an hour, that's $75 plus the canvas and the paints, $80, $85. Okay, so that's about what I sold it for. If I don't want to turn a profit, I guess. And it's obviously, the point is not to turn a profit, especially because I have a day job. So it's funny, like I was explaining this to a family member, like the fact that and maybe I said this even on last episode, but like the fact that I don't need sorry, my phone just went off. The fact that I don't need the money because I have a day job actually makes me raise the prices on my paintings because I don't care about selling them. It's not like, oh, I got to sell a few. But anyways, very exciting to be showing some paintings. Very cool that now someone owns one of my paintings and they will presumably display it in their house or burn it or throw it in the trash. Very cool. It'd be funny if they just paint over it. That would be what I deserve after painting over other people's paintings that I get at the thrift store. Don't tell anyone. And so yeah, I'm doing good. I'm in a good mood. It's a good weekend. I got a chill day tomorrow. Not too much work. Some other art stuff going on as well this coming week. And I'm just feeling good. Life is good for me. Obviously, there's a lot of people life is not good for. And that is different than me. So today on the VJP, we're going to be talking about, we got a lot to talk about. We don't have anything to talk about. Okay. Hold on. So I've been talking about artist biographies. It's sort of the theme on this channel. I have very bad news. I finished the Marcel Duchamp biography, and I have very bad news. Marcel Duchamp has passed away. Marcel Duchamp died in 1968. So I'm sorry to have to report that. I did get to that part in the book shortly before the end. And so he did pass away. Unfortunately, he did pass away in 1968. Amazing book. Amazing life. Very inspiring. And then at work, at my office, I've mentioned this before on the podcast. It was the first artist bio I read, I think, in the past year or so that kind of got me going with all this. It's the Robert Wyatt biography. He's a musician instead of a visual artist. He's one of my favorite musicians, probably easily in the top 5, potentially my favorite solo artist of all time, up there with Joanna Newsom. There are a lot of other ones, I'm sure, if I could think of them. But yeah, Robert Wyatt is really one of my sort of artistic superheroes. But I gotta say, after reading, I've just been slowly working my way through his biography, and it's a very, very good biography, and it's authorized, all these interviews with him and people who knew him and stuff. It's really, really good. But I have to say, after reading these visual artist biographies, for the biography of a musician, especially a jazz rock adjacent musician like Robert Wyatt, is such a different experience. The way that jazz rock biographies just inherently seem to have to be is they're just so full of names. There's so many fucking names, and I'm I don't care. But a jazz rock biography is For the next album, Wyatt got into the studio with Henry Balson, the trumpeter from So You Think You Can Jump, a trio on Established Records out of Ground Hill. And they got, for vocals, they got Lindsay Stevenson, who was associated with Let's Go and Freak On, the two of the most popular Zorba music bands. And Zorba music was a common genre on the label Eclipse Records, which was started up by Johnny Truegood out of Lindenham. It's like... Like, that's what it feels like to read it. It's like every page, there's like 7 new people that are not, you don't have to know who they are. And it's good to put in the biography. I'm not even criticizing it. Like, that's the whole fucking point of a biography. You have to like give the details of someone's life. But like inherently, it's just music is such a collaborative art that like reading about it, or like music in the way that he practiced it, is such a collaborative art. Like, practices it. He's still alive. But what was his last album, Robert Wyatt? I don't even, like, what? Oh, I know he did one with Brian Eno, like, recently, but what was his last, like, solo album, studio album? Oh, was it Comic Opera? No way. Wow, that was such a good album. Damn. He's got to drop another, right? Final. Wait, he died? No, he didn't die. Why does Comic Opera's Wikipedia say is the final album? What the fuck? Why does it call it the final album? Why not most recent album? It's fucking... He's not dead. Why would you... Okay, well, that's interesting. All right. Interesting. Okay. He's 78. 78. Okay. So anyways, yeah, more about these visual artist bios. Probably going to start reading a Picasso bio soon. I'm actually currently reading another book of artist bios by Calvin Tompkins, the one I keep talking about, the writer I keep talking about. This is a bunch of shorter biographies. It's called The Lives of the Artists or something. I read a short one about Damien Hirst, the guy who did the like decomposing cow in like a vat of formaldehyde or something. I don't know. It doesn't seem like my type of thing. Still interesting. And then I'm reading one about, what was this person's name? Whatever. Anyways, chugging along with that. So that's been fun and it's been inspiring. I like reading about artistes. Talked about the interview coming up on the YouTube channel. Okay. Next up, what did I do? So I've been following, I sometimes read ESPN news because I follow sports a little bit. I've been following the baseball playoffs. And I just saw this article yesterday on ESPN.com. Michigan State apologizes for Hitler image on video board. I just thought this was really funny. Okay. So this is Michigan State, like college or whatever, you know. This is not going to be, we're not going to have a San Marino issue like last week where Michigan State turns out to be a country, right? And I'm like, oh, Michigan State is a college. And then I look it up and it's like a country like within Italy, like San Marino. No, that's not happening again. Okay. So this article reads, I'm just going to read a short part of it because it's really funny. East Lansing, Michigan. Okay. Michigan State issued an apology Saturday night after an image of Adolf Hitler was displayed on the video board before the Spartans' home game against Michigan. The image appeared as part of a trivia question about Hitler's place of birth. Michigan State later issued a statement on the video board saying the school uses a third party for the content and will no longer be using that company. Oh, from the image, it looks like the answer to Hitler's place of birth was Austria. So it wasn't even like a super like specific. It wasn't even specific. It was just Austria. Okay. And then there's a quote: "We are deeply sorry for the content that was displayed, and this is not representative of our institutional values. MSU will not be using the third-party source going forward, and will implement stronger screening and approval procedures for all video board content." And then it says, the article ends with the sentence, "No other quizzes were displayed on the video board during the game," which the Wolverines won 49-0. So the Michigan team won 49-0 against Michigan State. So that must be like a worse Michigan. So I guess what makes me laugh about that is the idea that like it genuinely was an accident. Like I'm sure there's someone at that company, like that sort of video board quiz company, like you've got to be a Nazi, because I do think like you don't choose to. It does, like, unless you. I guess if you. I don't know. I really can't think of why. Like, even if you had to come up with thousands of questions, I don't know. I don't know why you would choose a question about Adolf Hitler. But I guess he's a public figure. But you could ask about the place of birth of literally infinite people and infinite public figures. So it just seems like even mention, and then like the main problem, the very clearly main problem, is how big the photo of Hitler is when you put it on a video screen, and the photo is he looks great. So that's the main problem. Like you don't put like that's the whole problem with the statues of the Confederate people. Like it's not statues of them getting stepped on by like a horse, right? And it's not a picture of Hitler like, you know, begging for his life or something like that, or like, you know, taking a shit, or like being obsessed with like his cleanliness, or like having other, you know, neuroses, or like shooting up amphetamines or something like that. It's a picture of him looking off into the distance with like a half smile on his face, and the contrast is all like nice and stuff. Like it's like bro, put that on your LinkedIn, you know what I mean? Hope they don't look at his work history. Okay. More like work camp history, am I right? Okay, next up, we're going to check the mailbag. We're going to check the Verbal Journal mailbag.gov. So you can write into verbaljournalpodcast@gmail.com if you'd like to, and give me your thoughts on the podcast. Let me know what you're liking. Let me know what you're disliking. Ask some questions. Give some suggestions. If you'd like, it's totally fine if you don't. And we did not get any messages this week. Not even from Google. Very interesting. I responded to Google's message last week, and they do not say anything today. So, wait a second. I was just sort of distracted by something in my email. I'll figure that out later. Okay, chess segment. This is the chess segment of the podcast. One interesting chess thing. There's chess news about a commentator, Simon Williams, who's a generally likable commentator. Seems a little. There's something a little off from his commentary, where, like, his judgment. Like I've heard him like curse once or twice in ways that were kind of just sort of inappropriate. And obviously I don't have a problem with swearing. It was just like, oh, that's sort of odd. And he's like, he always does this like beat where he's like at the bar where the chess players go hang out, and then he's there like having a drink. So not always, but he's like, he plays up the drink. And again, I drink too. It's just interesting, like his role in this article on chess.com is written by, I hate that chess journalist. He seems like such a prick. Okay, whatever. I think. No. I'm confusing him with someone else. Never mind. I'm confusing him with someone else. Okay. Anyway, Simon Williams, he's the Ginger GM is his name, as if he's the only red-haired GM. Okay, I can't be mad at people's branding. But okay, Simon Williams ordered to pay back nearly $900,000 to pension scheme. GM Simon Williams has been found liable by the Deputy Pensions Ombudsman in the UK and ordered to repay over $890,000 to a pension scheme of which he was the sole trustee. The popular 43-year-old British grandmaster, commentator, and author has been part of a long-running saga involving a sophisticated pension liberation scheme, which, according to the Financial Times, is a scheme set up to exploit a loophole in UK tax law that prevents people under 55 years of age from withdrawing money from their pension. On September 22nd this year, Williams was found liable as the former sole trustee of Focus Group Administration after an extensive investigation carried out by the pension's dishonesty unit. The final report from the investigation and all case files consist of 130 pages. The pension scheme was established in 2013 with Williams as the director and shareholder of Focus Administration Limited. 11 members transferred a total of around £830,000 of pension benefits into the scheme. The determination was made after 2 complaints from members who were investing in the fund. One of them said he had lost nearly half of his pension despite having the understanding that his funds would be protected. Another one said he lost his entire pension after not having been given information about the investments. According to Pension Age, the investments were made with funds in companies that had been incorporated shortly before the investments were made and had been trading at a loss and/or were companies in which Williams and his associates had an interest in. Pension Age also stated that the deputy of the pension's ombudsman found Williams and the company Focus, which was set up for the purpose, had committed multiple breaches of trust and many acts of maladministration that severely impacted members' pensions. It was also determined that the trustees had acted in breach of trust by being in a position of conflicting interests, failing to have in place and operate the necessary internal controls, and failing to have adequate regard for the need for diversification of investments. In a statement provided to chess.com, Williams says he does not agree with the findings of the ombudsman and therefore is in the process of an appeal of the determination. Due to that, he cannot fully comment on the matter. Oh, how convenient. He added, I was not nor have been ever involved in any day-to-day administration or decision-making. Okay. That might be not a good excuse because you set up the company. It is painfully clear that this was not... I did not understand the responsibilities required nor the nature of the structure of the investment and was wholly reliant on the guidance and actions of others. The members instructed the investments and actions were undertaken. I was offered what I believed to be an opportunity to work in the financial sector by people I trusted during a period of unemployment, and I undertook the role for experience in a new career before I began working in chess content creation full-time. Williams says no investment funds were in his personal possession and that he had no personal... Okay, I mean, he doesn't seem like the type of guy who would steal money from people's pensions. But he seems like he did do that unintentionally, at the very least. Williams says he accepts his responsibilities and intends to continue working toward finding a resolution with all affected. He also refers to a statement by his business partner, I am Gary Quillian, on the English Chess Forum, who says he takes full responsibility. It is clear that the advice and guidance on the responsibilities and risks of being a trustee was totally inadequate and failed to take into account many nuances in the legislation. Quillian's forum post reads, I take full responsibility for this. I have apologized to Simon and intend to help him through this extremely difficult situation. Okay, I believe him. Fair enough, but this is just kind of interesting. I mean, not interesting enough to read the entire article word for word. FIDE's main sponsor, Freedom Holding, under DOJ investigation. Wow. Freedom Holding, the Kazakh financial firm that has sponsored some of FIDE's major events in the last year, FIDE is the international chess organization, and is run by billionaire Timur Turlov, is now under investigation by the DOJ. American Business Network reported on Friday that the NASDAQ-traded company is being... Oh. More money, more problems. The more interesting chess news for me is I realized from playing on lichess.com, so you have these different, time controls, they're called, for chess. You got bullet chess, 1 minute each side gets about 1 minute, 2 minutes is fine. Once you get about 3 minutes each side, that's when you start calling it blitz. Once you get a bit more, you start calling it rapid. And then once you get more, you call it classical eventually. And there's, some other sort of subcategories, but those are the general categories. And I don't believe there's probably FIDE and US Chess and other bodies, formal recognition of like what is each time control. But I discovered on Lichess accidentally the difference between blitz and rapid as far as Lichess considers it. And I discovered this, it was kind of just funny and interesting. So when you have these time controls, it's not just that you start with that amount of time. There's also potentially an increment, or not. But sometimes you could each start with 5 minutes and then you have a 3-second increment, right? So each time you make a move, you get 3 added seconds. There can be a 3-second delay, which is different from an increment in that it doesn't add to your time cumulatively. You just get 3 seconds per move, but if you make your move in 1 second, you don't get the extra 2 seconds added to your time. You just get that 1 second. So if I have 3 minutes left on my clock, it becomes my move. Now I have, Say I have 3 minutes on my clock. It becomes my move. I get an added 3 seconds for that move. It takes me 13 seconds to move. Why did I start doing my math? You understand the point. I would end up with 2 minutes and 50 seconds. And then why would I say 13 seconds? Nope. Okay, never mind. You understand the point, the difference between increment and delay. It's not important. Okay. No, I need to finish that example or I'm going to feel stupid. Okay, if I have 3 minutes on my time and then it becomes my move, so I have 3 minutes and 3 seconds, even though, no, you get the time added to your time after you move, not after your opponent moves, right? So I move with 2 minutes and 57 seconds left. I get 3 seconds added. So now I have 3 minutes left. Then my opponent moves. It becomes my move again. I move in, let's say I move in 2 seconds. Now I have 2 minutes and 58 seconds. What? I really confused myself trying to explain the difference between increment and delay, and it's not complicated. It's just that increment adds to your time and delay doesn't. Delay just gives you time for that move, but if you don't use up the time, you don't add the rest of those 3 seconds to your time. It's that simple. Okay. But what I did find is that according to Lichess, if you each have 5 minutes and a 3-second increment, you are playing a blitz game. But if you each have 5 minutes and a 5-second increment, it has now become a rapid game. Just like if you had 10 minutes and a 15-second increment, that's also a rapid game. So a much, it's in the category of much longer games just because a 2-second increment more does kind of add up. But yeah, I don't even disagree, but yeah, it's just interesting. Okay. And for the last segment, we have the mailbag. That's right. Mailbag. No, I'm sorry. I mean screen time report. I'm pulling up the screen time report and I'm saying mailbag. Whoa, my screen time report now gives me averages for the last several weeks in addition. Whoa, I was on my phone a lot yesterday. Oh, yeah, right, because I was at this art event, and then I would just, use my phone to, in between chatting with folks. Playing chess a bunch on my phone, messaging people. Whoa, peak usage times. Whoa, this is an updated screen time report. They have a driving monitor. Keep track of how much you're using your phone while driving. So my daily average screen time was 1 hour and 29 minutes per day in the past week because I used it almost 3 hours yesterday. And I didn't use it much Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Anyways, wow. Cool. Okay, well, that's the screen time report on my phone. So let me know if you have any questions about that. I will say I sometimes I do recognize this is not a super entertaining podcast. I should just say that. I do get that. This is not a super entertaining podcast. This really is a verbal journal. But I will say, if you listen, I'm glad. And if you don't listen, for everybody not listening, but still supporting the channel, thank you very much for supporting the channel. And I understand that you're probably not doing it so you can listen to the Verbal Journal podcast. But yeah, I will see you all on the live stream later on the YouTube channel. We'll be chatting with Gavin Matz and more to come. So thanks so much for listening and have a great time. Bye.
This is a podcast or